It's not easy to find a movie star more extravagant than Ezra Miller. In their 30 years, they managed to soar to the top of fame, stay there as a promising young talent, and then rapidly collapse down. Their careers and reputations are hanging by a thread now. Why were they shunned by others in childhood? What secrets does Ezra's farm hide? And for what offenses can an actor lose everything? Welcome to the Biographer channel. Today we will try to figure out whether Miller's image is only a carefully thought out role or if there's something more behind it. Get comfortable, here we go. Ezra Matthew Miller was born on September 30th, 1992 in New Jersey. His father, Robert Miller, was a senior vice president at Hyperion Books, and his mother, Marta Miller, is of German descent, worked as a professional dancer. Ezra is the youngest of 3 children. There are 2 older sisters in the family, whose names are Caitlin and Saya. The father of the family spent most of his time at work, and the mother devoted herself to the children. Marta Miller brought up curiosity, imagination, and the desire for creativity in children. My mother is an artist through and through, and I think the way she raised her children was with a playful, curious inquiry into the world. Basically, Ezra's choice to become an actor is the merit of Marta. As a child, they had a speech defect, and in order to correct it, their parents, following the advice, took the future star to vocal lessons. So, at the age of 6, Ezra was already studying opera singing at the conservatory. Soon, Miller Jr. got rid of speech disorders, but they did not give up music. So, thanks to the vocals, Ezra woke up not only musical but also creative abilities. Already in adulthood, the artist will perfectly combine these 2 areas. Ezra studied at the Hudson School, a prestigious private educational institution for intellectually inquisitive students. In parallel with their studies, they learned not only the basics of musical art but also theatrical skills. Miller always aspired to creativity. It became obvious even in the 1st grade. Then the students were asked to write an essay about any book. As a result, Ezra chose the work of Stephen King, Cujo, a narrative that told about a rabid Saint Bernard. Ezra liked the novel so much that the student created a project that they demonstrated to their class. I bought a big stuffed animal dog, and I covered it in blood. I made a tape recording, and I hooked up the play button of the tape recorder to the dog's paw. The idea was that you'd push the paw and you'd hear out of the voice of this bloody stuffed dog my dramatic reading of Cujo. After Ezra demonstrated their work to classmates, the teacher gave the highest grade. Later, they shared that they were very excited because they thought that their work would hang on the wall of achievements in the classroom all year. But the teacher said that after the end of lessons, Miller would have to take it home. The teacher emphasized all this with the phrase, "Welcome to elementary school, you terrifying freak." From early childhood, they began to have behavior problems. Miller was detained at the age of 10. At that time, little Ezra, for unknown reasons, wrote on the wall of the Gap store not a childish phrase at all: "Stop sweatshop labor." As part of a gang of wayward teenagers, they came across another prank. They scattered coins by rail. A neighbor handed over the agile hooligans to the police. The actor told about these cases at the peak of his career when they were asked if they had committed crimes. Ezra wasn't the most talkative teenager in high school. They often felt isolated and had xenophobia. Classmates despised the young actor, who was often traveling and missed lessons since they began collaborating with the Metropolitan Opera from adolescence. They recalled, "There was a feeling of being inherently ostracized because I was missing school. That feeling of resentment can make you feel far more alone because you're surrounded by people who you can't quite connect with because they perceive you to be other." As a result, communication with peers was reduced to 0. Ezra spent most of their time wandering around New Jersey, skipping classes that for some reason were considered unnecessary. Working outside school allowed Miller to disengage from the usual high school-college employment track. They also said that they weren't a fan of the high school formula of completely unrelated courses for 45 minutes each. Nevertheless, Miller was always happy to attend various creative classes. In their interviews, they recall that they were often attacked for their appearance and unusual behavior. "I've fallen prey to my fair share of moments of the phobias of others in the way that can become an attack," they said, recalling how the trips to the concert of Attack Attack in school years ended up with a scar on their eyebrow. "I was wearing a green velvet jacket and was doing a sort of vaudeville reminiscent dance moves in the mosh pit. I was walking away from the mosh pit after having a wonderful time and the word fat resounded in my ear. I turned around just in time to see someone snapping their fist down on my left eyeball." They immediately went into the cinema industry after graduation without thinking about higher education. Ezra considers his first acting role to be the opera production of White Raven by Robert Wilson and Philip Glass. At that time, they were only 8 years old. Ezra recalls, "That was a very confusing and trippy creation tale, and I was a kid who brought up the sun and rotated the earth. It was very empowering." According to IMDb, Miller's first credited role is a bully who incites his friend to beating up the main character in the series Cakey, the Cake from Outer Space. The appearance of the actor was almost unnoticed, and the role essentially consisted of several phrases.
"Sorry, dump can!"
Ezra debuted in the Big Movie in 2008 in the series After School, where they played one of the key roles, a schoolboy named Robert, who became an unwitting witness to the death of 2 girls from an overdose. The only friend and salvation of Ezra's hero becomes a video camera. That was a great film experience because of how f***ed up it was and like a psychotic filmmaking process with young kids, they said in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. For the actor, this project was very important because it was with the help of it that the artist was not only remembered by the audience and film critics, but also by directors. After that, Miller appeared in the television series Californication and in 2 seasons of the series Royal Pains. Miller's next work was participation in the film City Island, on the set of which they met such actors as Andy Garcia, Stephen Strait, and Juliana Margulies. They got the role of a difficult teenager named Vinny who liked to spend time on porn sites and was fond of large women. In the same 2009, the actor got a small role in the TV series Law & Order Special Victims Unit. At the time of filming, they were only 16 years old. Ezra tried to work hard, despite his young age. For 2 years, the actor has appeared in the series Royal Pains in the role of a rich 16-year-old hemophilia patient Tucker Bryant. However, it was an episodic character, spoiled by fate. And in what movie or TV series did you first meet Ezra Miller? Write in the comments. Ezra's finest hour came in 2010. It was filled with interesting filming as well as development in his musical career. That year, Miller's filmography was supplemented with work in the comedy drama Every Day about a 40-year-old clerk, Ned, who had to reconsider his views on family relations, work, and children. Ezra Miller got the role of Jonah, the eldest son of the main character. In the same year, the actor received the main role of the school leader in the film Beware the Gonzo. The role was in the spirit of Miller. It was rebellious, defiant, revealing the problems of social inequality, and, as usually happens, ambiguous.
Truth in that article.
Back off! Freak, I'm serious.
You think this is just gonna go away? Is it just gonna be over? We're still gonna get justice for Schneeman, Riley. You can't stop us!
Ezra Miller's partner in the film was Zoe Kravitz, and soon information about their relationship appeared. However, the couple quickly broke up. Later, the actor was attributed novels with the professional photographer Lauren Nolting and model Erin Axtell. Ezra was allegedly even going to marry the latter, but fate had other plans. In the same 2010, Miller, along with his band Sons of an Illustrious Father, gave concerts in all states of America. He was a vocalist and drummer. Genre queer is the term the band uses to describe their sound, which is a bit punk, a bit folk, and a bit electronic. The trio consists of Josh Albin, Lila Larson, and Ezra. The band formed in 2009, having released 2 albums and an EP, presented its latest experiment, Deus Ex Machina, or Moving Slowly Behind Nikola Tesla, in June 2018. This is a prismatic collection of 9 songs demonstrating the magnificent absurdity of a band whose members often exchange instruments. The album is sort of a funeral rite for the world that is gone and fanfare for the world we intend to eventually live in. At the moment, the project is suspended, but this does not mean that we will not be able to listen to new hits in the near future. Ezra Miller's acting career did not stand still. One successful project followed another, but it was the role in the movie We Need to Talk About Kevin that brought real popularity to the young talent. In this film, they turned into a teenager, Kevin, a very gifted but private young man who turned out to be a psychopath. The story is based on his mother's memories of her son and his gradual transformation into a mass murderer. The actor described this experience in 2011. That performance was entirely about finding all of the anger and the resentment inherent to mother and child. It's just a scary truth, and it's a very old story that's entirely undertold. It's too dark, too dirty. Interestingly, Ezra auditioned 6 times to get this role. Tilda Swinton, who played the role of mother of the main character, became the partner of the young actor in the film.
You know who else is thirsty? You don't.
The vacuum monster.
Cut it out!
The premiere of the film was at the Cannes Film Festival and became a real sensation not only in the United States but also abroad. The project was highly praised by both film critics and the audience, and Miller was talked about as a talented rising star of modern cinema. Amid the triumph of We Need to Talk About Kevin, Ezra found themselves in the center of not the most pleasant incident. But then the actor was too little known to attract public attention. Nevertheless, the news that Miller was detained with prohibited substances still got into the media. Then they were fined $600 and the story quickly sank into the abyss. However, Ezra has never hidden the fact that they are fond of psychotropic substances and is definitely not going to give them up, even for the sake of their own career. Miller later commented on the incident, "I do not know if there is such a need to hide the fact that I smoke marijuana. These are harmless herbal substances that increase sensory activity." In 2012, Ezra appeared in the film The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Steven Chbosky. A young actor played the role of a gay man named Patrick. The picture tells about teenagers who are going through a period of growing up and finding their true selves.
I have received a harmonica, a magnetic poetry set, a book about Harvey Milk, and a mixtape with the song Asleep on it twice. I mean, I have no idea. This collection of presents is so gay that I think I must have given them to myself.
Since a large part of the film is tied to the relationship between Miller, Watson, and Lerman, the actors spent a lot of time together during shooting. Ezra called this period in their life as one mischievous bonding trip. It consisted of running and shouting in Pittsburgh parking lots, as well as night music sessions inspired by the melodies of the 90s. For the role in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Miller was twice nominated for the MTV Movie Awards for Breakthrough of the Year and for the Best Musical Moment. But in both nominations, they lost to Rebel Wilson from Pitch Perfect. In 2012, the actor came out as queer. There is a version that during the filming of the movie The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Ezra got so used to the role of Patrick, who secretly met with a bully friend from the football team, that he was finally able to dot all the I's in the question of his orientation. Ezra said that the story was close to their own. At that time, the actor became one of the first celebrities to talk openly about the new masculinity. Ezra gave a rather frank interview to Playboy magazine where they openly shared their first homosexual experience. "One day, me and a friend who was my sexual partner found a box with his mother's toys," Ezra said. "There were Playboy magazines, lingerie, Kama Sutra. We used all this in a variety of ways while masturbating to each other." Ezra does not identify themselves as neither a man nor a woman. They previously used all pronouns interchangeably, but as of 2022, uses they, them, it, or zer pronouns. By the way, recently the concept of queer Miller also avoids it because they think it's a label. "I don't identify as a man. I don't identify as a woman. I barely identify as a human," they said in one interview. After a bitter experience on the love front, Ezra decided that monogamy was not for them and stopped looking for a single partner for life. The actor prefers to have a whole squad of sexual partners, which he calls a polyamorous molecule. "I'm trying to find queer beings who understand me as a queer being off the bat, who I make almost a familial connection with, and I feel like I'm married to them 25 lifetimes ago from the moment we meet. And then they are in the squad, the polycule, and I know they're going to love everyone else in the polycule because we're in the polycule, and we love each other so much." Ezra has studied traditional cultures a lot and believes that there is nothing new in a non-gender position. According to them, the origins of this phenomenon should be sought in Hawaii and among Native Americans. At the same time, they are sure that the queer community is not fighting for equality. None of these conflicts against systems of oppression are fights for equality. They are fights for accurate regard of supremacy. "We're better at sex than y'all. We're better at art. We're better at warfare." These are things carried in the old understandings of so-called whatever you want to call it. Non-binary, queer, genderqueer, trans, gay, lesbian. Just like the neurodiverse peoples, these people are all sacred beings, superior to other beings. Naturally, Ezra Miller's coming out could not but cause a contradictory reaction from people. Even in our time, progressive society tends to ostracize non-binary personalities, as well as those who somehow try to shake traditional foundations. I was repeatedly assaulted as a young teenager for being weird and gender ambiguous. They couldn't figure out if I was a boy or a girl, and they thought that was hilarious and also despicable. Their coming out quite strongly influenced the roles in movies, and soon Ezra grew out of the role of rebellious teenagers. In the film Madame Bovary, they appeared in a new image, playing a charming and not very responsible notary assistant Leon Dupuy and a lover of the main character.
I cannot accompany you.
Leon, please.
I will meet you at the hotel tonight. Please, go.
In 2015, the actor appeared in the docudrama thriller The Stanford Prison Experiment. The team of volunteers, according to the psychologist's idea, was divided into two parts, guards and prisoners, and each member of the team began to behave unpredictably. In the same year, Ezra played in the comedy Trainwreck, where they played the role of one of the contenders for the hand and heart of a young journalist, Amy. In addition, the actor tried themselves in a new, promising role, a superhero of the DC Universe and the fastest man on Earth, Flash. At first, they had such a chance in the movie Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, but their appearance was fleeting, and it was almost impossible to see the hero. In one of the scenes, Flash disarms a criminal in a store, and in another, he appears before Ben Affleck's hero. The second appearance was a cameo in Suicide Squad, but even there, the actor had only a few minutes of screen time. It's no secret that the critics picked to pieces Suicide Squad, but the actor saw only benefit in this. Negative critiques motivate us. Ultimately, we can't base anything on the critical response. As artists, we aim to please absolutely everybody with our work, but we also know that we have to keep expressing ourselves as best as we can express ourselves. The actor's personal life did not stand still then. Miller met actress Shailene Woodley. The couple was often seen in cinemas and restaurants, and Ezra's chosen one also came to his concerts. However, their relationship did not last long. A Morris brunette found a new love in the face of actress Margarita LaViva. The lady turned out to be 13 years older than her lover. At that time, Ezra's acting career was flourishing, and the next movie brought Ezra even more popularity. In 2016, the first part of the film Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them premiered. The series of films about the magical zoologist Newt Scamander became a kind of spin-off of the Harry Potter films. The film took place 70 years before the events of the saga of the Boy Wizard. Ezra played a young man named Credence, whose adoptive mother, being the founder of the New Salem Philanthropic Society, set out to destroy all wizards and witches in the world.
I trusted you. That you were my friend. That you were different.
You can control it, Credence.
I don't think I want to, Mr. Graves.
The director of the film, David Yates, admitted that he chose Miller due to the eccentricity and talent of the actor, but Ezra still had to pass the casting on a common basis. Miller has been a devoted Harry Potter fan since childhood, and they were thrilled when they were offered a role in the spin-off. However, the actor's participation in the film was in question for some time due to the conflict of work schedules. Ezra participated in the filming of several projects at the same time. Not wanting to give up a promising film, they wrote Warner Bros. Look at Humphrey Bogart. Casablanca was his 11th film with the studio that decade. We don't do that anymore. We don't develop relationships between actors and studios. There's no loyalty like that anymore. I say in these emails that I want that with you. I want Credence and I want The Flash. In the end, the producers made concessions to the motivated actor. Surprisingly, this film was not shot on location. Most of it was shot at Leavesden Studios, which was located outside London. For Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, there were only 3 shootings on location. All of them took place in Liverpool. At the Leavesden studio, the designers built a massive scenery of New York City, including real storefronts, shops that could be entered, tram rails, and hatches from which steam came out. At the peak of its activity, the film crew consisted of about 350 builders and art directors who brought the scenery to life. The film received mostly positive reviews from critics, but there were also moments that they didn't like. Fantastic Beasts is 2+ hours of meandering eye candy that feels numbingly inconsequential, Entertainment Weekly wrote after the premiere. In 2017, the film about the exploits of superheroes, Justice League, premiered, where Miller played the role of Flash. Metahuman in their performance develops phenomenal movement speed, uses superhuman abilities that violate the laws of the physical world. To all fans of comics owned by DC Comics, this character is very well known and loved by them not only for his supernatural abilities but also for his character. Grant Gustin also auditioned for the role, having already tried on this movie image in the series of the same name. But the producers of the full-length film chose Miller. Snyder admitted that he noticed Ezra in the movie The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Later, the actor gave an interview in which they told a little about their character and shared with the viewer their opinion about why they liked the character so much.
So yeah, he's an explorer. He's a voyager. I think that's something that's made the Flash such an interesting character for all of its history. Is that It's someone who can run into our ideas about physics, about how the world works.
Preparing for the filming took quite a long time, as Ezra needed to practice a little. I'm not running yet, right now. I'm still in the stretching phase. I want to stretch for a while. The main characters in the film were also played by Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and Jason Momoa. The release of the film was scheduled for the same date when the animated series Justice League, 16 years before, was released. However, the film did not meet expectations. During the shooting, the film's director Zack Snyder left the project due to a tragedy in his family. Then, Joss Whedon took the director's chair, and at that moment, everything went wrong. He significantly changed the tone of the picture, added more low-quality humor, and reduced the length to 120 minutes, as required by the Warner Bros. Management. As a result, Joss Whedon's version turned out to be nondescript and did not gain much support from the fan community. But the Flash performed by Miller was appreciated. According to former LA Times film critic Kenneth Turan, the main character is a genuinely amusing portrait of comic earnestness and gee-whiz enthusiasm and naivete, nicely done by Miller. After the premiere of the film, namely during Comic-Con in San Diego, Ezra asked fans why it would be difficult for their character to get drunk at the event. Someone in the crowd gave the correct answer. Flash's metabolism is so fast that he is incapable of getting drunk. Another fan jokingly asked Miller to smell their breath to be sure that they were sober. Miller, in response, kissed the fan on the lips without explicit consent. The next film with Ezra's participation was released on big screens in 2018. This was the second part of Fantastic Beasts. The film also starred Eddie Redmayne, Jude Law, and Johnny Depp and others. While reviewing the script, Ezra was delighted that their character turned out to be a relative of Albus Dumbledore.
We will go down in history together as we remake this world.
The fact is that only his brother and sister, Aberforth and Ariana Dumbledore, were mentioned in the books, and suddenly another relative appeared. Miller later said in Entertainment Weekly that they really liked this turn of events. I was shocked, stunned, confused, petrificus totalis with wonder, and I still have a lot of questions for which I have no answers. Fans, in turn, were shocked by the news about the changes in the canon, and not all of this turn of events seemed really appropriate. The actor noted that J.K. Rowling told them about it during a press tour as part of the campaign of the first film, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, in 2016. It was after this conversation that they started working on the sequel on a very, very subtle level. In addition, Miller said that all the storylines will converge in one logical ending. According to them, everything will make sense because Rowling has gathered knowledge of mythology and is ready to show that all this confusion actually has a deep meaning. In 2018, information about the relationship between Ezra and actress Maya Hawke appeared on the web, but there was no confirmation of this. The actor increasingly keeps his private life a strict secret and does not make statements about their romantic relationships. Around the same time, Ezra gave a rather frank interview for Playboy and also starred for its cover. Topics were raised not only about gender and sexualization, but also about art. The actor openly admits that art literally saved their life. It's really important to acknowledge the diversity of voices who have experienced this in all genders, all capacities, all types of people. Everyone is victim to it. Everyone is a survivor of it. Art is the only thing that I have. If I didn't have art, I'd be so fucking dead. So long ago, I'd be dead. I probably would have done it myself. Another important topic they touched on in interviews was the #MeToo movement. The actor claimed that they had such a moment of their own which they never shared before. However, the name of the director was not called. They gave me wine and I was underaged, they recalled. They were like, hey, want to be in our movie about gay revolution? And I was like, no, you guys are monsters. Ezra is sure that this is the duality of the industry. Everyone knows that such behavior is unacceptable, but at the same time, as Ezra says, that's what Hollywood is. I thought we all knew we were sex workers. Ezra's movie life was actively developing, and the next movie with the actor's participation was Zack Snyder's Justice League, the release of which was eagerly awaited by many fans. An additional $70 million was contributed for production, and Snyder agreed to work for free. The premiere was supposed to be a 4-hour miniseries. However, the idea was abandoned due to legal difficulties. There are just 6 chapters in the film. Don't Count on It, Batman, The Age of Heroes, Beloved Mother, Beloved Son, Change Machine, All the King's Horses, and Something Darker. Snyder's cut received an R rating for profanity and violent scenes, as Snyder predicted. The age limit of the film was due to the swearing of Batman and Cyborg, as well as many bloody scenes. Snyder's cut was warmly received by both viewers and critics, and even a viral hashtag. Hashtag #RestoreTheSnyderverse was launched on the network. However, Warner Bros. Has already stated that there are no sequels planned for the film. In 2020, viewers saw Ezra Miller in the miniseries The Stand, starring a pyromaniac named Donald Elbert and nicknamed Trash Can Man. Amber Heard, Alexander Skarsgård, Whoopi Goldberg, and others also starred in the film based on the work of the same name by Stephen King. The series was received ambiguously. It was scolded for poor preparation for filming, a cheap picture, and the intricacy of the plot. On film critics' websites, it barely scored 5 out of 10. Therefore, it was not surprising that the project quickly went into home rental. Miller was paid for food, weed, and living in a house where they were said to have made speeches about spirituality, hinting at the possession of spiritual powers. Several sources later told reporters that they feared Miller's emotional outbursts. Miller was also accompanied by a medicine man, 55-year-old Jasper, who claimed that Ezra could save the world from self-destruction. There is an opinion that it was Jasper who greatly influenced the mental state of the actor. However, Ezra's old friend tried to justify Miller's strange behavior by saying that they were greatly influenced by their parents' divorce, which was undergoing just during this period. Ezra didn't start freaking out and losing control of themselves in public until after this happened. The Iceland incident happened, and then it just kept going and going and going and going. All this was just the beginning of a series of troubles in the actor's life. In 2020, a video appeared on the internet where the actor allegedly strangled a woman in a bar, and later, Miller was still identified. Ezra managed to get rid of the investigation that time. Subsequently, the video was called staged, but what exactly happened between the actor and the fan was unknown.
Learn it? Did you want to fight? Is that the deal?
Whoa, bro.
Further, in an interview with THR, Ezra advocated carrying weapons, saying that people should protect themselves. Moreover, they recorded a video threatening members of the Ku Klux Klan living in North Carolina. After all that happened, the leaders of Warner Bros. And DC even gathered for a meeting to discuss the actor's future career. This was where Ezra's adventures were just beginning. While on vacation in Hawaii, one young woman who was 18 at the time began a sexual relationship with Miller that lasted 6 days while she was staying at a hotel. Ezra was super manipulative. They kind of had us all under their finger, she said, describing several verbal altercations. They were able to twist and pull everything that I thought I knew about the world. Another incident, this time with another woman, happened in Berlin. In an interview with Variety, a certain Nadia shared that after a 2-year pen pal friendship, the actor came to visit her late at night, and everything would be fine, but the friendly attitude of the actor changed dramatically after the request not to smoke in the house. They started insulting me. I'm a transphobic piece of shit. I'm a Nazi. They were going around my house, looking at everything, touching everything, spreading tobacco leaves on the floor. It felt disgusting and very intrusive, she shared. In addition, Miller was arrested, charged with harassment and hooliganism. The actor was sued by a certain married couple whom the actor met at a farmer's market in Hawaii. The victims claimed that Miller had entered their bedroom and threatened them with violence, with Miller saying to the man, "I will bury you and your slut wife." Before leaving the house, they stole the couple's wallet and some documents. However, 2 weeks later, for some reason, the couple asked to cancel the temporary injunction. A similar situation was repeated in May 2022. Ezra was charged with burglary in Virginia. According to the information, several bottles of alcohol were stolen from the house. A lot of speculation and rumors also revolve around Miller's farm in Vermont. Some describe this place as unsafe because Miller grows marijuana there and stores several weapons. A couple of years ago, the media reported that after a vacation in Hawaii, Ezra took a 25-year-old girl and her 3 children to his house. 2 sources also claimed that Ezra used marijuana frequently and in large quantities, in the presence of children while taking little care of proper ventilation. But the mother of these children, on the contrary, zealously defended Miller. She told reporters that she was forced to flee from her husband's abuse and commented on the situation as follows. Ezra's home ranch has been a healing haven for us. They may have firearms for self-defense purposes, and they are stored in a part of the house that the children never go in. My kids are able to relax more into their healing because of the safety and nurturing Ezra has been providing for them. Later, it turned out that Miller's farm has not only a cannabis field, but also chickens, goats, cows, and roosters. And if much of their farming seems like a beautiful picture, then this is only the first impression. The actor's farm is very real, with an apple orchard, a chicken coop, and a tractor, and they really live there. People think I'm someone who exaggerates. Ezra says. "I think people tend to associate me as somewhat hyperbolic in my tendencies. I'm actually not so. I try to be very honest." Miller has 4 goats, each with their own names: Kathy, Betty, Patty, and Noisette, and they are dressed in pink and purple knitted sweaters appropriate for the weather. One day, Ezra personally delivered Noisette. At the same time, Ezra Miller does not like it when they are called hippies. They call themselves lifelong living with the Earth freak. "I'm not a hippie. I don't identify myself that way," Miller says, even though they are obsessed with finding solutions to climate change. As for why the word hippie annoys them, the actor explains, "I think they overwhelmed a lot of really important social movements with a lot of hysteria, and I think that it was essentially just a lot of privileged people making a lot of noise and having their awakenings, which is all well and good, but the problem with white people having awakenings is we're usually blind to the fact that we're not the only people in the universe having an experience. So we're like, I'm having an awakening, dude." You know what I mean? The actor generally has a very unusual lifestyle for a rising Hollywood star. They don't have a personal presence on social networks, and they never planned to acquire real estate in Los Angeles. They bought their real estate in Vermont, a place they have loved since childhood. And the household is only a confirmation of their painful attitude to the topic of ecology. One day, they said, "Gaia, we don't understand her. We don't understand how powerful she is. We don't respect her rights. I'm just an emotional person. I just feel things differently." Yes, I'm crying already in the interview. According to Vanity Fair, Ezra considers themselves as the next Messiah, who believed the Freemasons were sending demons out to kill them. After numerous incidents and rumors, fans seriously thought about the mental health, and this is not due to Miller, but to an unexpected change of accents. The original protagonist, Newt Scamander, is now sidelined. This divides the franchise into several parts. The films now look better separately, but their unified idea is violated. Critic Christy Lemire wrote the following in his review of the film. "Dumbledore's Secrets seems overloaded when the film clumsily jumps from one storyline to another." Subsequent serious red flags in the behavior of Ezra Miller, according to Rolling Stone, colleagues began to notice during the production of the superhero blockbuster Flash. Even then, the producers seriously thought about whether it was worth continuing to cooperate with the unreliable star. According to insiders, Ezra had several nervous breakdowns on the set at once. Their behavior was never aggressive, however. The actor complicated the workflow, often lost concentration, suffered from obsessive thoughts, and poorly understood what was going on around them. Miller's arrest, which occurred in March after their vacation on the islands, led to the fact that several film studios refused to work with him at once. The incidents with the police and the news that Ezra could be deprived of the main role in The Flash taught the actor little, and they again attracted the attention of the police. They quarreled with a girl in a residential complex and threw a chair at her during a scuffle. There was a scar on the forehead of the victim. The 29-year-old Miller was arrested, but soon released for further investigation. It is difficult to imagine cancellation in all releases, but the fact that Miller may lose the main role in the sequels of Flash is a fact. Warner Bros. And DC have already discussed the possible termination of contracts. In August 2022, Ezra personally apologized for his inappropriate behavior at a meeting with the bosses of Warner Bros. Discovery for the first time. They said they had a severe crisis and promised to seek psychological help. "Having recently gone through a particularly difficult period, I realized that I suffer from serious and complex mental health problems and have already begun to undergo treatment. I want to apologize to everyone I have alarmed or upset by my behavior. I intend to do all the necessary work on myself to return to a healthy, safe, and productive lifestyle." After that, the producers relented and allowed the actor to participate in the filming of the movie. But according to an insider, bosses have decided to suspend any future projects involving Miller, including possible appearances in the DC Extended Universe. Whether the studio will relent in the future is unknown. The premiere at the end of summer was postponed from September 2022 to June 2023. Meanwhile, amid a series of arrests and high-profile scandals, fans began actively looking for a replacement for the actor. Instead of Ezra, many offer Grant Gustin. A recent interview with James Gunn and Peter Safran once again confirmed that Miller's future in the DCEU is very ambiguous. Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. We are fully supportive of that journey they are on right now. When the time is right, when they are ready to have that discussion, we will all figure out what's the best path forward. A biopic of Mary Harron, Dollyland, in which Miller plays a young artist, is currently in the works. Its release is planned for 2023, but it is unknown whether there will be any more excesses in the actor's life that will affect the realization of the picture. And now we offer a little distraction from Ezra's stormy personal life and recall their extravagant appearances on red carpets and other social events. Before their name began to be associated with scandals and lawsuits, Ezra Miller was considered a real fashion icon. So, in 2019, Miller arrived at the Saint Laurent brand show in short shorts with a leopard print, a linen shirt, and a cloak thrown over it. The shocking image of Ezra was complemented with bright makeup and a slang word drawing on the cheek. In the same year, Miller arrived at the annual Met Gala ball in a men's pantsuit, but it would be strange to expect something trivial from the beautiful infant terrible. A long train skirt came with the suit, and a corset made of rhinestones was flaunted over the jacket. But the main accent of the image was an unusual makeup. Several pairs of eyes were painted on the actor's face. In addition, the performer held a mask with a man's face in his hands. Ezra loves the idea of transformation. We wanted to show the performance aspect of getting dressed. Ezra's stylist Riccardo Tisci explained the meaning of the image. He also mentioned that he and Miller were quite similar in terms of style and called them one of the smartest people he has ever worked with. In 2020, at the UNICEF Ex Luisa Via Roma Gala dinner, the artist appeared before the public in a revealing outfit from the Monod brand. Under a low-cut dress with a high side slit, Ezra wore a translucent tight jumpsuit. Some commentators were indignant at Miller's choice. Others called him a real man who was not afraid to declare his femininity. Ezra feels equally comfortable in both rough men's boots and women's model shoes with eyeliner and no makeup at all, with a short shaved hairstyle and long hair. Among the famous personalities who inspire them to new images, Miller singles out Oscar Wilde and Buster Keaton.
Colleen Atwood and I keep trying to get more Buster Keaton hat game into the Credence looks. They usually end up getting cut out of the film, often with the note that they look too cool. So there you have it.
An important place in this list was Jessica Rabbit, because of which Ezra dreamed of becoming a cartoon character as a child and was extremely disappointed when their sister said that it was just a painted picture. Of the modern fashion icons, Ezra Miller preferred Rihanna because her style was unusual. The fact that the media think and write about them as a fashionista is completely far from what Ezra really wants to show the world. They are trying to convey that being yourself and wearing what you like and what you are comfortable in is normal, and even if it does not fall under any concepts of norms of the public, if it makes you feel unique, wear it. Ezra Miller's status as a fashion icon comprehends something deeper than just the image of a man who wears stylish women's clothing or one-of-a-kind outfits for red carpets. This is evidence that they use fashion as an amazing tool to express their unique personality. Share with us in the comments which of Ezra's images do you like the most, and why? Well, as a bonus, there are some interesting facts about Ezra's life. When it comes down to watching movies, Miller prefers old-school gadgets. The actor's home in Vermont has a very outdated combined TV VCR player on which they watch movies from their extensive VHS collection. The original Carrie and Titanic are part of their library. Ezra likes the idea that they are testing a dying technology. Each night is a roll of the dice if the chosen movie will work, since the VHS's magnetized strip degrades over time. Ezra also has rather outdated views about mobile phones. At one of the events dedicated to the release of Fantastic Beasts, there were too many fans who wanted to take pictures with them. And then Ezra said, "I find the presence of cell phones bad for my mood. I can feel cell phones when they're around." Nevertheless, surrounded by so many mood-lowering devices, Miller did not remain indifferent. They posed for selfies with everyone who asked. Now, in the behavior of the actor, there are a number of logical inconsistencies between what they say and do. Moreover, some of Ezra's actions are difficult to give any logical explanation at all. For example, why were they pirating their own music? Why do they have so many weapons in the house, and isn't it dangerous for their guests? And who was poor Takata Eyes to Ezra? We tell you more about the adventures of Ezra Miller, lawsuits, and scandals in our other video. Click on the icon on your screen and watch. But don't forget to like this video before that. There was Biographer with you. Bye-bye.